Okay, hello, one and all. Welcome to the first in a series of presentations from EPX Technical Services on business growth and IT perspective. My name's Dan Ellis. I'm CEO of EPX Technical Services. I've been in the IT industry since founding the company in 2005, and our team is a team of 30 engineers based in Staffordshire, looking after a range of businesses across the UK. And we're going to be doing a series of webinars on business growth and what you may need to know from a techie perspective. Now, caveat for this is not all just technical advice. It is not supposed to be technical advice. If you are the leader of a company, this is the sort of information you should be having from your technicians. If you're a technician, this is the sort of information that company leaders will be seeking. So here's what will be coming up in the series, but we are still welcoming ideas and requests if so you wish. Integrating and monitoring business processes using software systems. Asset lifecycle management, right through from the purchase of the original equipment, right up until the secure and safe disposal of equipment, not just IT systems, but any electronics associated with your company. Rationalizing licenses across your various systems. This could be things like SaaS software, Microsoft licensing, making sure you're compliant, making sure you're using all the licenses you're paying for, and so on and so on. We're also doing a piece on how to manage user accounts across a huge IT estate, making sure people are getting disabled when they should be, making sure that you have a clean onboarding process. But today we will be focusing on integrating and monitoring business process using software systems. This will be largely ERP, MRP, advice on SOPs, and how to integrate all of these correctly into your business. What I would say though, that is my email address. If there is content you would really like to see in these webinars, please email me and ask me. For consulting, mine and my colleagues on the business consultancy side are charging £1,200 a day. These webinars are an opportunity for you to get free advice where you need it. So let me know what sort of content you'd like to see in these webinars. Today, however, here is what to expect from this session. We're going to do some statistics because no presentation would be complete without some numbers. We're going to cover some business operating systems, which probably are not quite what you think they are. Standard operating procedures, which I'll go into far more detail on later. And what software systems to use to handle all your operating procedures in your company. And finally, data-driven decision making and the importance of it in your company. That'll be SOPs, KPIs, dashboarding, and such. So to start with, here are some statistics that you may find useful or may not. UK exports, they are set to increase by 3% in 2024. GDP of the UK is going up by 1.5% this year. Unemployment is staying under 4%. It's a pretty prosperous and good time for growth, believe it or not. There are lots of new startups going on. There were 700,000 businesses registered last year alone, and we're seeing growth in all kinds of sectors. A couple of examples are 15% in financial technology. Financial tech is always leading the way in growth. In the UK, it's just always been the way. But we're seeing also renewable industries growing, so is educational technology, the creative sector, logistics and shipping, healthcare, and tourism. And of course, behind all of these, you've got e-commerce growing 10%. That is the growth that we've seen in the last year in the UK across all of these different sectors. Now, why is this relevant? Well, AI and machine learning is most certainly coming. 60% of UK businesses are incorporating AI or machine learning. 60%, that is a ridiculous amount now incorporating this technology. The market of AI and machine learning is set to grow by 10 billion in 2025 from its current 10 billion. Now, 6 years ago, in 2019, it was 1.3 billion. That's the rate of increase we've seen in this type of technology. This market didn't even exist 10 years ago in 2015. Unfortunately, you can't AIify your whole business straight away. You've got to start simple. You've got to start with simplifying your processes and getting your house in order, which we'll talk a little bit about today. But the IT budgets of businesses are also going up. This is by about 5 to 10% every year. UK SMEs spent 35 billion on digital transformation in 2023. That's expected to be 40 billion in 2024. So digital transformation and IT investment is not slowing down at all. Largely, this is being spent on security, on AI, tech support, e-commerce, and CRM systems, and of course, the licensing as well. So the IT sector will not be slowing down, and for businesses that are not engaging in this area, your competitors will be. If you are not keeping up with the latest on tech, no matter what your industry, then you will be left behind by those who do. Now, I'm going to give you some background on business operating systems. Now, not to be confused with those. Those are computer operating systems. I'm talking about a business operating system. These are the procedures and methods used to run a company. So they're not Microsoft Linux and co. They are things like OKR, 4DX, Agile and Lean. People have heard of those a little more. EOS is an operating methodology that my company uses. And this is essentially what the key stakeholders of a business will be using to define how their business runs. Now, across all these operating systems, I've done a little research and found that they all seem to have a few things in common. They're all different. They've all got their own flavors and different ways of running. Some of them appropriate for certain sizes of business. But in general, all of these business operating systems will have something for the vision of your company, so you know where your company is trying to go. The culture, so you know what the personality of your company is, which is more important than you'd think, especially for things like the marketing side of the organization and the brand identity. The customer and market focus, so you know who you're selling to, who is your target. The people, so you know if you've got the right type of person, how you know they're doing the job as they should be. The execution and operation, that's how you carry out the day-to-day tasks of the company. The data and metrics, this is how you measure what your company is doing. Financial management, so you know if you're handling your money right. Innovation and improvement to make sure you're not just maintaining the status quo and you as a company are developing. And finally, the accountability and governance, which is making sure that your business is running as it is supposed to be, holding people to account and making sure you're handling everything when it comes to compliance correctly. So these are everything that these operating systems generally have in common. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up, because IT is absolutely integral to pretty much all of those. IT is the one department in a business that you can guarantee is everywhere in the company. It's we've got our little tentacles into all parts of a business for us as technical people, because the businesses rely so heavily on IT. So SOPs, what sort of standard operating procedures do you use? Because that is how you handle if the operation of a business is running correctly. So you think, what systems should we be using to manage these SOPs? How do we integrate these into day-to-day business operations, which we will be covering momentarily. Finally, what helps with the business operating systems a tremendous amount. So what your key stakeholders of your business will be wanting to do, they will be wanting to know if the business is working correctly. And that's where KPIs and numbers, data and dashboarding all comes in. It's that old adage, what gets measured gets managed. So I'm going to go through standard operating procedures a little more now. So ERP systems. There's a horrifying description I found online for an ERP system, which is software systems to integrate and automate core business processes across finance, HR, supply chain, resources, and operations. It's a bit of a mouthful, but the simple version is it's the software that will run your whole company. And why should IT be caring about this? Because IT will be the ones who will maintain and use this. You may think IT will just set it up and get it going, and a manager somewhere will set up the processes for their department, but the IT people will be absolutely integral to this process. They will be making the reports for the managers, they'll be handling the integrations, and they're the ones who will turn documented business processes into streamlined checklists, and ultimately, where most businesses are going, automating these processes as much as possible to make it easier for your staff members to do their job. But the IT people will be all over that. So therefore, IT has to be part of this conversation. So if you as a business, do not have board level representation of your IT function, then your business will not scale effectively. So just to highlight that, if IT does not have the ability to represent their intentions and their plans and communicate with your senior stakeholders, then your business will not scale successfully. If you have got some people in your organization who are the old fix-it men who crawl under the table plugging things in, or the people who live in the server room and you don't like talking to them, but they are working all hours, they are fixing your tech, they're making sure things work, you may think, great, they're doing a good job. But if you can't get them in front of the board delivering a budget report and a long-term strategic plan, they are not adding value to your business. They are looking after it, they are not adding value. So hence, IT, you need to be able to have your IT people involved in your strategic decision making for your company. When it comes to the SOPs, when you are developing them, not only do the IT people have to be involved, but everyone involved in the SOP should be involved in the development of documented processes. If you're going to decide to document a process, involve everyone. Don't make one manager write it all up and then expect everybody to follow it. You have to get involvement and buy-in and engagement from the team. Recommended reading. There's a book out there called The E-Myth, which I do recommend checking out. It covers the standard operating procedures in great detail for a few example businesses. One of my favorite ones was actually a hotel, how they make sure that everything's set up exactly perfectly for all of the guests. That's definitely one to check out. The SOPs that you develop will never be finished. Do not think that by producing a load of box files full of documents that you've now sorted it. They need to be living, breathing documents, and ideally not documents at all. They need to be checklists within your computer system, within your ERP system at the center of the business. The SOPs will be a continual development carried out by all of the major people involved in that department. And you need to make sure that if people have an issue or a recommended improvement for your SOPs, they have a way to be heard, to be listened to add the improvements. Okay, so this is where the tech comes in. When you are developing your processes, when you are developing them, break them down into as many simple steps as possible. Work out where one person hands over to another and how much delay you can expect. Every part that takes time. If it's broken down into enough steps, then you'll find that some of the best systems out there can automate this for you. If you can't automate the system, and you have a person check it off a list, then your software system can assign tasks to you, so you can carry out the tasks. And it makes it a lot easier to know for a new member of staff coming to your company, for them to know how to do their job if they can just see what their job is as a series of checklists. It makes things far easier. This is actually what McDonald's were quite famous for when they developed their ecosystem. Okay, so that's a load on standard operating procedures and the importance of. So the next is what software systems to use. And this is all going to begin with a caveat of I cannot decide for you in one short presentation what you would need. This needs research from yourself. You will find there are small systems, big systems, industry-specific systems, and every industry will generally have some specialist tools for your sector that will usually be spot on if you can do the research on it. I personally don't sell ERP and MRP systems. I have no particular bias here, so this is as unbiased a view as I'm able to give you. So some generic systems do exist. Examples, before I give you the examples, they have a low barrier to entry. They will generally come with a free for your first 2 users for the light edition. And lots of businesses, therefore, will have these generic systems. One of the most common generic systems out there is Sage, because lots of businesses in the late 90s, early 2000s, they went with Sage to run everything. They went with Sage Line 50, which then upgraded to Sage Line 200 and Sage Job Costings and whatever. That's one of the most common generic systems out there. Other systems, you've got Monday.com, HubSpot, Zoho, Pipedrive, Sugar CRM. These are all classic off-the-shelf systems that businesses will adopt. But eventually, with all of these, you will hit their limits. You'll hit the limit of what these are capable of doing. You'll find there's a report you want. You want some functionality that it will not give you. And this is a classic error. When a business needs a new system, they will not make the decision carefully enough. You often find that some of the generic systems used by businesses were implemented by a small department of that business. The shop floor needed a stock control system. The marketing department needed a CRM. So they chose something that then spread. That's fine when you're a small business growing that way, but as you scale, as you grow, you need to put more care into your decisions. And this is where the larger systems come in. Now, these are the big ones. You will have heard of SAP, which is used in some of the biggest companies on the planet. NetSuite, that works fine, even up to the 100 million revenue companies. NetSuite is a great tool. Salesforce.com, I believe that's so far pretty infinitely scalable. Infor and Microsoft Dynamics, they're also major players in this area, and every single one of them will almost certainly do everything you need it to. However, that's like me handing you a blank notebook and a pen and saying, this is any book you want, you just have to write it. Because all of those systems, what they have in common, you buy them as a blank slate, you configure them to your needs. So whatever you're planning, whatever your budget is for these systems, probably triple it, because buying the license is just step one. You then need to configure them, set them up, and they will need ongoing attention, which is again where your IT people will have to come in. And this is why you need technical people who can talk in non-technical terms with all of the relevant stakeholders. So I've got a little bit of a checklist about how you could choose a CRM, sorry, not a CRM, an ERP, MRP system. Just a few hints. What can it integrate with? Your business will have all kinds of systems in it by now. You'll have all kinds of things you need it to talk to. So what does your system need to integrate with? Make a list. Make sure that the new system can handle this. Examples? You got shipping, third-party shipping companies. They'll like to hook into your warehouse management system, so you know something's been shipped, so you can give the customer a receipt, etc. HR systems, e-commerce systems, and above all else, make sure there's an API so you can make it talk to anything if so you need. Does it improve your processes? For a long time, my business had a system that worked perfectly for us, but we found when we moved to another system, it made us change. But it made us change for the better in counterintuitive ways we didn't realize. So these systems, they can really help you as a business if you're willing to change some of your operating methods. So that's another thing to look at. Will they force you to change how you work? And is that a good thing? Do they come by recommendation, and have they got a good reputation in the industry? These are quite simple ones. You can normally find 1,001 Facebook groups or networking groups where you've got some guru for your industry trying to sell training courses, but it's a great opportunity to get together and talk with other people in your industry about what products they've recommended and what products they use. It's surprising how useful that can be. Third-party support. So there is a reason why the likes of Salesforce, NetSuite, and so on, why they charge £1,200 to £1,500 per day for their consulting. They are expensive, but you will find often there are third parties who can support these systems for way less. So companies that are specialist in your industry. You may find some independent consultants and advisors who can help you in your industry to get your ERP system running how it's supposed to be. So have a look and see what third-party support systems and methods are out there for you. Finally is the X Factor. The X Factor, yes, not the TV show, but what random special thing can this product do for you? Is there something unexpected? I can tell you that in my industry, the product we buy that runs our business, it comes with a massive networking opportunity with other companies. We spend a lot of time talking to other people in our sector about how to set the system up well. The people who maintain our system have really gone all out on making sure they're as helpful as possible. So that's useful for yourself. There may be something like that to consider. Now, throughout all of these, technical, it's not really that relevant. Not really. If you're about to spend upwards of £100,000 on a computer system to run your business, the server it sits on isn't usually that critical. If your business will provide a cloud-based environment, consider whether you will purchase that from them, whether they'll just deal with all of it so that you don't have to maintain your own server infrastructure. That's always very helpful. But you may notice, again, nothing on that list really is technical. Not really, maybe integration a little bit. But this is where your technical people, they'll need to understand the tech, but they will need a non-technical perspective in order to engage with the stakeholders and the end users in order to deliver what they all want. So do not be blinded by techies overcomplicating things. That's a trap many businesses fall into. So I believe that's everything for what software systems to use. I'll take you on to data-driven decision-making now. So before we get into this, the data-driven decisions, this is your goal. This is where you're trying to get to. It's almost the whole point of getting an ERP system. You want to make sure your business can make a decision using clear data that's transparent, that everybody can understand. Otherwise, you may find a business is simply making a decision saying, shop floor feels busy, I think we need someone else. So many businesses do that. In our industry, we've called it muscle and feel. And it's making a decision based upon, it feels busy today, instead of it is busy today. So being able to make decisions based on clear data is very, very, very important. So as a reminder from earlier, this was the list of what these business operating systems will care about. And good data will help at least with all of those. Good solid data in your business will help with those areas. So anyone remember this from school? GIGO stands for garbage in, garbage out. It means if you are putting crap data into your systems, you will never be able to do good reporting on it. You will never be able to make a good decision if you're not holding good data. So what data are you storing in your system? You need to figure out how you're going to present it. Can you get the data from the relevant sources? Like your current ERP system, can you get the data from it? Now, in our company, we've had to make custom dashboards, custom reports for all kinds of systems that don't want to part with their data. Some of these systems, they're designed to be closed off so that you remain within their ecosystem. But it means if you find limits and if your systems can't generate you the reports you want, you're stuck. But there are always ways of getting data out to produce reports on it. Microsoft have got some amazing technology out there now in their Power Automate suite, it's called Robotic Process Automation, RPA, where your computer with a mind of its own can log onto the system, download the reports it needs, spit it into another analysis tool, crunch the numbers, and give you a nice dashboard at the end of it. There's all sorts of great tools out there now in robotic process automation so that you can generate the reports that you need. So can you get the data from all the relevant sources? If you can't, talk to us because there may be a way. Okay, so dashboarding. Dashboarding is one of the most powerful things that you can have. Dashboarding will essentially mean that you can simplify the data given to your team. If you want to make a business decision, try and make sure the reports are as simple as possible. Try and make sure that the reports you're given by your software are not overly complex. You can drown in data if you're not careful. So finding a dashboarding tool to make things easier is an excellent step, and there are lots of them out there. Click that. So I have seen in a lot of businesses decisions that have been made, a lot of decisions that have been made in businesses based upon Excel spreadsheets. You see people working on their spreadsheets all the time. And when I walk around an office and I see someone, deep in a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, I'm always curious as to why. Because generally the spreadsheet is, they're getting data from something, they're analyzing it in a spreadsheet, and there's some form of output, maybe a report. And generally every time you see a spreadsheet, it's often where a business process isn't working quite right and they've had to do something themselves, or where they're producing a financial report because the finance package doesn't do it. So wherever possible, you want to use your systems that you've paid for and you've invested in to give you automated dashboards to make things as simple as possible for you and to take as little time as possible. This is how you can really save a lot of time as your business grows. If you're having to spend, a day or so a week analyzing data now, that's only going to get worse as things scale. So when it comes to people management, this is again data driven. People management, you want to be able to make a person know if they're doing a good job with as few numbers as possible. Make it simple for them. Don't give someone a dashboard of 50 numbers and say your 23 number is down this week. It just makes it horrible. In our business, as an example, our help desk engineers, 3 numbers is all it takes to know, for them to know if they're doing a good job. Those 3 numbers in our case, you've got 98% adherence to the SLA. Are they responding on time? Are they handling things at the speed that is expected? 35 tickets a week. Not only does it make sure they're solving the jobs at the right speed, but it makes sure from our point of view, we're not handing stuff that's too difficult to them. And 95% satisfaction from the customers. So with those 3 numbers alone, the engineer can know if they're doing a good job. And it makes it easier to manage your staff as well, because the managers have their own dashboards. They've just got a list of all their staff members with those 3 numbers. If anything goes awry, they can have a conversation with them. Now, none of this takes care of the human element of well-being and making sure people are okay. That sits in the world of HR and compassionate management. But in terms of executing the tasks correctly, that's what these data-driven decisions are for. Never try and automate away the human side. If the managers want to, then these 3 numbers, they can drill into it. They can see, here's how your tickets per week count has trended over the last 6 weeks. Here's the number of tickets you did today. This must be why it's down. They can drill into it, but that's not what we're handing all the end users. You don't want to drown the end users in too much data. The data should be at the back end for drilling into if you need it. Okay. Lastly, if you've configured your ERP systems at the core of everything correctly, then they should align your business processes with your KPIs. So you should know that everyone's doing their job right, because the business processes and the KPIs are aligned. When a user logs onto the system, there's some tasks so they know what they have to do that day. And then when they've checked it off, the manager can go, I know this user did their job correctly that day. So that's, if you've got the system built well, that's what it will do. And this is the sort of thing we can absolutely help you with if you need. This is the sort of thing that businesses will encounter as they grow. They will hit these growing pains, and you will need to figure out how to get these systems not only implemented correctly, but maintained correctly as well. Because what I said before, it's never fit and forget. So that's the main content I had for you. There's 2 slides left of information I want to give you. There's the learnings for the day, the in review slide. Then I'll give you a checklist you can take away for SOP development. So in review, businesses are growing and the IT function will always continue to grow. You need technical people who you can trust to communicate at board level. If your IT people are just fixing things, they're not adding value to the company. They need to be developing your company. A well-defined SOP can allow for easier process and automation. The better defined and made your SOP is, the easier it will be to automate things, to simplify things, and to make it easier for your staff to understand how to do their role. And a carefully set up system makes the entire business more successful. If you build your system correctly and set it up carefully, it'll make the whole business more successful. But if you implement it without sufficient care, it will just be a hindrance. It'll just be a burden and a waste of time and money. Simple and trustworthy data is absolutely key to making good business decisions. Do not drown in data. Simplify the data where you can and make sure that the IT people in your company know how to make you the reports that you're going to need. And that will also mean making sure that there are some senior IT people who you can trust to see the kind of information you're going to need to report on. Okay, so promised I'd end it with a little checklist for you. So this is 5-step plan for SOP development. A little less technical this time, but it will be required for your technical people as well when you're implementing your software systems. Firstly, you define the SOP. Why are you making it? Make it a SMART goal, not a vague. What are you trying to accomplish with the SOP, and who is it going to affect? The first pass over it, you engage all the people who are affected by the SOP, from all the way from C-level execs right down to the shop floor workers. You want everyone to have involvement in this SOP, even if it's just an informal meeting or a suggestion box. There has to be a way of everyone feeling they have ownership or involvement. You want buy-in. So you use all those people, you request all those people to help you document your procedure in some simple high-level steps. No more than about 6 or 7 steps should be any process. Because you get to refine them. Once you have the big headings, you then refine the process. You go through the procedure again, breaking it down into smaller steps. Repeat this as many times as it takes to make sure it's nailed down and it's perfect. But at the end of the day, don't go more than 3 levels deep. You want the 6 or 7 key ones, then some subpoints, and then at most some more subpoints. Just about every process you should be able to break down like that. And once you have, that can go into your software system as a checklist. And it may turn out that if you've got a 10-step process, by the time you've done steps 1 and 2 on a software system, step 3 maybe just push a button to automate the rest of the process, because you've given the system all the information it needs at step 1 and 2. So refine your processes, make them simple for all of the staff members, and the computers will be able to help as well. Next is training. I would hope there isn't a huge amount of training needed here, because the staff members will already have been involved in building the SOP. But of course, depending on the size of the organization, you may have to roll this out for hundreds of people. But training is an essential next step. But make sure you reiterate, don't just memorize the process and expect it to be the same next month, because ongoing reviews are a thing. Do not fit and forget your process. Do not just build a process and expect it to cleanly run forever. The process will need tweaks and improvements. Once you get it in, once you get a process into your system running, your staff members may say, step 45 is rubbish. Or step 3 could be so much better if we did this. Or I've got a great idea, let's add step 4B. These processes will never end. They are evolving, and this is why they should be built into your systems. Because in our company, if you want to, for example, set up a new laptop, you don't do it from memory. You go into the service ticket that says set up new laptop, and you're presented with a checklist of what you need to do to set up a new laptop. So if our team suddenly discovers that we need a new tool on every laptop, or we should not do that thing on every laptop, we alter the SOP. So we don't have to retrain everybody. The SOP tells you what to do. So that means the next person who builds a laptop, they open the ticket, there's their checklist, but there's a new item in there. And that is a great way of making sure that everyone is doing stuff cleanly and scalably. Make sure the teams have a way to provide their feedback. Okay, so that is actually everything. I did say at the beginning that this was part of a series of presentations, of webinars, and for those present, this is your opportunity to get some free advice in certain major business activities. I will zip back to the beginning actually, so that you can just see that here. That was slide 5. There we are. So that was the series. Those are the concepts we have at the moment for content. If you have any content requests that you would like to see more of, then please email me if you would like to something very particular that you'd like me to bring up in these webinars. But for now, that is, let me just turn the screen share off. There we go. That is everything I have for you today. Any questions, please get in touch. I'll be more than happy to advise or give you a one-to-one session wherever possible. That is my email at the bottom. This webinar will be available in recorded form on our company YouTube channel as well, so you can catch up if you missed the beginning. Other than that, thank you very, very much. Feel free to ask questions in the Q&A if you wish. I will linger for a few minutes to answer whatever you may have. But otherwise, thank you very, very much. Okay, first question. Would you consider cybersecurity maturity assessment with changing systems? Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Cybersecurity is a major part of all businesses moving forward. And if a business isn't considering the cybersecurity as part of the long-term strategy, they are severely missing out. I mean, they're not just missing out. They've put themselves in danger already and need to hurry up. Cybersecurity is massive. And as a business scales, you have issues like just this, at the most simple human level. We got 2,000 users in our organization. Oh dear, we've still got 10 that haven't worked here in 3 months. Just that should be a simple issue. In past examples, we've connected up the user management Active Directory. We've connected it up to the HR package. So when a person is onboarded, when they're given their employment contract, that's when we start the user creation process automatically. And based upon their job role and job title, they're given access to certain folders. And when they leave the company, it's automatically removed. I mean, that's just a simple thing, really. But this is the sort of thing that it should be standard for every organization. But organizations, once they pass around 180 to 200 users, that's when they start caring about things like this. That's when they start realizing they're lacking. Unfortunately, they become a massive target for cyber attacks once they pass about 50 users. So there's a nice vulnerable area of 80 staff members. So yes, the short answer is yes, I will absolutely consider cybersecurity maturity assessments. No problem. I haven't had any more questions since then. Oh, yes, I have. I've missed it. How often would you recommend reviewing systems and SOPs? Yes. Okay. So reviewing the SOPs, a lot of software systems can actually handle this automatically, where they say this checklist that's applied under these circumstances, this checklist, it hasn't been altered in 6 months. Make a task for a manager to assess it. You can also have things to say, we haven't even looked at this checklist in 6 months. Have a look at whether it's still valid, whether it's still used. So some great systems can do that if you configure them right. But how often would I recommend reviewing them? It's as often as is needed to. Issues such as, I mean, with our company, we're sending out 10, 20 laptops every week. So every time we follow that process is an opportunity to review it. Now, we do have a manual check every 6 months to see if it's still valid. But often those checks aren't so valuable. You'll look through them and you'll go, that looks right. But the main time to review an SOP is as you're executing the SOP. I'd say if you aren't looking at an SOP every 6 months, you should be. If you are looking at an SOP 5, 6 times a week, then you probably don't need a 6-monthly check. 6 months minimum, but it depends on your industry, unfortunately. I hate to give you a lawyer answer of it depends. Yep. Any others? Fire away. But I think that's everything. These will all be the whole webinar will be available on the YouTube channel, and my email address. You know what? I'll put it in the chat just so everyone's got it in writing. And feel free to reach out to me anytime. I can do a one-to-one with you. I can answer particular questions. And yeah, I suppose this is your opportunity to get free business consulting. In the meantime, thank you very much. I will end it there. Thank you, everybody, for your kind attention. Farewell.